It looks like it's a little bit dark in here, but so you want to know the key to one of the key components to millionaire mindset that will allow you to have the ability to grow faster, to eliminate the chances of success. Or when I say eliminate, not totally, but like successfully, like significantly mitigate the the uh the the chances for mistakes to happen, and also to grow. Like, if depending on what it is you're looking to accomplish, are you looking to grow your business? Are you looking for more profitability? Are you looking for uh just like even learning, like just getting more proficient at what you do, but don't want to like figure stuff out? The key to like, that's part of the millionaire mindset, and the key to that, I'm just going to tell you, is just great strategic collaborations. So strategic collaborations is something I'm going to talk about today. In fact, what I'm going to do, because it looks like we're a little bit light, a little bit dark, so I'm going to see if I'm going to make just a quick adjustment here. So just to light it up. All right. So millionaire mindset is 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 not just one thing. Like, what does it take in order for someone to not just go from zero to making millions of dollars, but also from someone who is making millions of dollars to be able to even maintain that, right? So when you think about, well, what does it take to maintain that, and what does it take to be able to even grow that, right? So because it's interesting, we were just having a conversation today, and what I was saying to my son, like, yeah, we're a multi-million-dollar business, we make a couple $1,000,000 a year, and that's grown significantly. So what we're on track to do this year is significantly different than what we did last year or the year before. But even if you're only making, like, I told him, like, making $1,000,000 a year, like that is, you're not a substantial business at that point. Like, the stuff that I did when I was making $100,000 a year is different than what I did when I was making $500,000 a year. And what I do when I was making $500,000 a year is different than what I'm doing making $1,000,000 a year. And what I do making $1,000,000 a year is different what I did do when I'm making $2,000,000 a year. But it's not, 1,000,000 and 2,000,000 is not really that different. But the things that I'm doing, the things that we're doing that growing our business to 10, $20 million a year, things are significantly different. There are certain things that we put in place that are significantly different. And so, what are those things? Like, what are those things? Well, one of the key things is something that we've always done, but it's the level and the difference, right? One of the things that allowed us to get from 100,000 to 500,000, from 500,000 to a million to 2,000,000, 2,000,000 to 5, 10, as we're tracking to do significantly more, is the strategic collaborations. Like, none of those levels that we've been at, we've been able to do by ourselves. You can't do it by yourself. If you're like a lone wolf, then, and you think that you could just go and get yourself in a bubble and it's just only you, and you're gonna get to $1,000,000 or 100,000 or 500,000 or whatever, and it's just you, then I'm gonna tell you wrong. Why am I gonna tell you wrong? Because, first of all, who are you gonna serve if it's just you? You just serving yourself? If you're just serving yourself, where the money coming from? Right? The money's got to come from somewhere, someone, and the money's coming from someone who you've served. Right? And then chances are you're going to have to serve a lot of people, unless you got $1,000,000 offer. If you got $1 million offer, then you only need to serve one person, but you still got to serve someone, right? You're still serving someone. Now, but also, what about, just the operations of everything? So that's just one example that totally just disproves anyone that believes that they could do it all by themselves. But strategic collaborations is also about how do you reach the people. It's also about how do you fulfill on the things that you do when you're reaching the people. So why am I talking about that? Because like just this week alone was a pretty fun week, because with the strategic collaborations that we're doing, like we got students who were just struggling getting from zero to $50,000 a year. We got students who were just struggling getting their first place, even though they've been around, or getting their second or their third places, even though they've been around and have been working with us for a while. And I'm like, and then today, like just because of a number of the strategic collaborations that we have, like many of those same students, like they made, like there's a few that we'll be all gathering up if you guys are in here. In fact, if you're in here, if some of y'all are in here, I'm gonna put on, because I want to make sure you're able, because we ain't gonna go long. We're only going a half an hour tonight. Hey Florence, go ahead and feel free to comment inside the comments, right? Because I'll just talk about some things, and if you got some questions, ask them early, because like we'll probably go a half an hour, because we have our Airbnb mastery inner circle private meeting session tonight. So our office hours are then, and so all of you will jump into Zoom that have the link for that are in that program, and then we got some hot stuff going on tonight, right? So, but a lot of you have already, like the week has been just phenomenal for many of you due to strategic collaborations, right? Some of you who were in positions where you weren't able, like, so where you weren't able to, like you were struggling for years to get your third place or your second place in some instances. Some of you like struggled a bit. And then today, what's up, Tony? And then now, like literally within 72 hours, you got access to $25,000, $50,000, $75,000. You've picked up multiple places. You've selected properties out of my portfolio. You've gotten stuff. You've collaborated with people that are helping you set up this stuff. Like some of you have left your jobs in the last 30 days. So because because of the strategic collaborations that you have with me and others, now, like within your first 30, 45 days, you've generated over $10,000, and not just on something that just like is just a one-time event. It's something that you saw is replicable, and it is consistent, right? And so now the time that you put in to generate that 10,000, like real money, I'm not talking about $10,000 like cash flow over the next year. I'm talking about $10,000 in 1 month you've generated, and it's your money in your account, and you're going to continue to make money off of some of that stuff over and over and over and over again, while you're continuing to next month make another 10 or make another 12 or 15 or 12. Like, how did that happen? How did that happen just like in a fraction of the time that it took for you to, on your 9 to 5, where you were putting 40, 50 hours a weekend, and you were making like a fraction of that amount, where you weren't putting anywhere close to 40 hours a week in to do the thing that got you to making that 10,000. How does all that happen? It happened because of great strategic collaboration. None of you could do it yourself, right? So there are things that we do in our business, and as we're growing, And as we're moving to that point where now we're doing 5, 10, $15 million a year, like, how am I doing that? I can't do that stuff by myself. So some of the strategic collaborations that we're doing are students that are advanced that understand this stuff. We collaborate with them so that they can implement on some of the things that I don't want to implement on. I don't want to. I don't need to. Why? Because I need to just have things in place based on the way I know it should be done so that the people that I'm serving at a different level, I have the ability to serve. But also the people that are implementing some of those things, I'm serving them at a very high level as well. Because now they're able to do certain things that they weren't able to do. They were able to do before, but not at the level that they're doing before. Right? Does that make sense? And what we also have the ability to do is, because of our strategic collaborations, because I got access, because I'm able to be in certain rooms, because I have other relationships that are very valuable, what happens? That access, that information, those relationships, and the value of all that stuff gets transferred over to all the people that I have strategic collaborations with. So it helps them to be able to do the thing that they do at a much higher level to get much greater results faster. So great strategic collaborations are one of the keys to success when it comes to the millionaire mindset. Like, there's not just one thing. We talk about health, we talk about finance, we talk about discipline, we talk about focus. Like, all of those things are important. It's not just a one-dimensional thing when it comes to millionaire mindset. Millionaire mindset is a multi-dimensional thing. And one of the things that's so key is strategic collaborations. In some instances, it's actually called, in some instances, you could call it a mastermind. Like, in fact, that was one of the things that Andrew Carnegie calls it. He calls it his mastermind. He did a lot of, and if you don't know who Andrew Carnegie is, Andrew Carnegie was he was the steel magnet of the world. He was the one who made billions of dollars because of the innovations in the steel business, right? He did other things as it relates to banking and things like that, but the steel industry was the key when for him, that's where he grew his wealth, in the steel industry. And he was also the one who commissioned Napoleon Hill to do the book Think and Grow Rich. It was not named Think and Grow Rich. There was no name. All it was, look, I want to give something back to society that's going to live on beyond me, that is much bigger than just this money, all the billions of dollars that I've made. And what that is a knowledge of how I got there, but put in a way that people who are serious about their success, if they just follow these principles, they will be able to have success that is well beyond what the average person is doing. And so Andrew Carnegie shared a lot of those principles. And one of the principles that he talked about was also, he called it the mastermind, right? And it's so important. And the way he puts it, like, he knew people like, he knew people like Henry Ford. Like, he knew people like Thomas Edison. Like, he knew a lot of people that were just, in some instances, up and coming. Like, at the time, like, people were questioning Henry Ford. Like, is this guy for real? And he would tell people, like, if you got an opportunity to invest in his stuff, like, you need to do that with him, because he may not be all of that right now, but I'm telling you, the man is a genius, and he knows, like, he's he will take over the car industry, right? And so his thing was, though, the power of the mastermind is like having like people around you that have a certain mindset, one, and access to certain resources, two, and like also certain levels of intelligence, three. And when you have people around you in your mastermind, then when you have ideas, when you have something that you're actually doing, your ability to create that and do it successfully is going to be increased significantly. The mastermind, strategic collaborations is what I call them. Now, I also have masterminds too. He also talks about having masterminds that are not just people that, like, in some cases, people that you actually know and actually are talking to every day. But he's talked about having masterminds of people who you don't even know, like who you've never met. In some cases, they're not even alive. So like, okay, what does that mean? That sounds kind of strange, right? So how can you interact with those people and get feedback from them if you don't know them, if you don't talk to them, if they're not even alive? So I have a mastermind. Like, there's a few people in my mastermind that I've never met. There's a few people in my mastermind that aren't even alive. And in that mastermind, but I also have other masterminds of people that are alive, that people that I do talk to every day, people that I talk to regularly. And so I have those masterminds because, like, for instance, just to give you some idea, in fact, I was going through this, and my students know, if you've gone through my affirmations, you heard a number of the names that, and you might not have known because it didn't tell you why those names were in there. But these are some of the people like that are in my mastermind. When I talk about not the mastermind that where my students, where I got my high level students, where masterminds, we spend time, we hang out on yachts and fly around on jets and things like that. Like, we got different circles of masterminds, and I have those kinds of masterminds where we share business ideas and things like that. But there's also another kind of mastermind that that I have, and I'll just share. I've never really shared this with anyone. In fact, it's kind of strange because I've never ever shared this with anyone. So I call it my billionaire mastermind. My billionaire mastermind consists of, I'll just give you the 10 names. And there's a couple of names on here that I won't, like, well, I'll just mention them. So but they have an asterisk next to them because I don't know if they're gonna stay or they're gonna leave. Like, I might boot them out of the mastermind. So Jesus is the first name on that mastermind. The second name, and these are people that have been on my mastermind, this mastermind list, probably for the last 6 years. And like, I read up about them, I study them, I think about how they think and how they do things, and the advice that I would get from them. And sometimes I'll, like, when I'm making decisions and thinking about their perspective as I'm making those decisions. Like, in fact, Andrew Carnegie goes as far as asking, talking to them as, as if they were right there in front of you. And I do that. I do that with Jesus. Like, I talk to him, right? I don't know of anyone else I've spoken to like that on this list, other than one person, number 3. So Jesus Christ, King David is also on my mastermind. King David, myself, I'm part of the mastermind. That's the third person who I talk to all the time, every day. Billy Graham, he's someone that's on my mastermind. Albert Einstein, he's someone that's on my mastermind. Henry Ford, just heard me talk about him. He's someone on my mastermind. And there's a reason why all these guys are on the mastermind. Who else? Ray Kroc from McDonald's, he's on my mastermind. Elon Musk, he's on my mastermind. Magic Johnson, he's on my mastermind. And a new addition to my mastermind, there's one new addition that I know is going to stay. I just added him recently, and it's because of some things I've been studying. His name is Walt Disney. Walt Disney's on my mastermind. Now there's 2 that are on my mastermind. There's only room for 12. There's 2 that I'm not sure if they're going to stay or if they're going to leave. I just gotta wait. I gotta do more studying up and things like that on them. But Isaac Newton, he's on my mastermind, and Andrew Carnegie, he's on my mastermind. But those are additions that, like Andrew Carnegie, I've been studying him for a while, but he's never been on my mastermind. But I added him more recently, and he may stay, he may not stay, but there's only room for 12. That's it. There's 12 on the mastermind. Jesus had 12 disciples. There's 12 on my mastermind, including myself. He had 12 disciples. I included myself as one of them as well, right? Because we also have different characters, right? So in any case, that's it. Now, that's one mastermind. Why do you like strategic collaborations? There's so many. Think about the things you can learn. Like with Jesus, you can learn everything. Like if he's not number one in your life, and he's not the one leading and guiding your every decision, then you got a problem, right? You need to really rethink everything you're doing. So that, I'm just gonna say that y'all agree with me on that one. If you do, go ahead and put it in the chat, put it in the comments. If you don't agree with me on that one, then we probably should be talking. But he should be number one, right? He should be number one, and you should be talking to him every day, because there's nothing we can do without him. And I don't care what everybody else is saying. None of those people, like, he's really the only person you need on your mastermind. Honestly, he's really the only one. But we got all these others. So we got King David. King David is someone who just, like, think about the things you can learn from King David. The things that I know just from a personality perspective and a leadership perspective and a growth perspective. I was never the biggest guy. I was never the tallest guy. I was never a guy that was made to believe, was the one that you would, like, especially with the dudes that I hung out with when I grew up with. Like, I was always the smallest, the youngest, and like, I was not the one that everybody would be like, yeah, he's the dude. I was like all these guys got all kinds, much more talent and ability than I had. And I was just always trying to emulate. But unfortunately, most of those guys today, like, if they're even alive, they're living lives that are well below what their potential was. Well below. If they're even alive, some of them, right? Really sad. So I can really relate to King David, because he was the ruddy guy out of the bunch, out of all his brothers. He wasn't the one who dad, his father, Jesse, when Samuel came, because the Lord sent them to anoint the next king of Israel. And he sent them for David, but Samuel didn't know it was David. He just knew it was one of Jesse's boys. And Jesse was like, "No, it must be this one, this one, this one, this one, this one." Went down the whole. He's like, "Nope, it's none of those. You got another son? Yeah, but you can't be talking about him. He's out there. He's like the smallest one. He's out there tending the sheep. Well, bring him in. Come on, bring him in. Let's see." And when he brought him in, Jesse was like, the Spirit said, "Yeah, that's the one." I mean, not Jesse, Samuel. So that's the one. So anyway, there's a number of other reasons, and the Spirit of God led me to put King David on my mastermind list a long time ago. Like, and he showed me some things too, like 5, 6, 7 years ago. So he's always been there. Billy Graham is also on my mastermind list. Billy Graham, like, when you watch and listen to his story, like, not only has he been the advisor to many presidents, a spiritual advisor to many, many presidents, but like Billy Graham, the way, like, he's always been like fully committed to his assignment. He's been fully committed to his ministry and serving people in a way that pleases God. Not in a way that pleases Billy Graham, not in a way that pleases people, in a way that pleases God. Right? And so he's someone that I do emulate and admire for a number of different reasons. but it wasn't like an easy thing for Billy either when he first got started. And as he was going through, like he wanted to quit and give up too. At one point, he was talking about walking away from the ministry, right? So, but he didn't. And look at the many lives that God used him to change. Like not just while they're here on earth, which he did, but also for all eternity. And if nothing else happens, like if we can say that, if you could just say you changed one for all eternity, then amen. Like that's it. Your job is over. But God has bigger plans than that. So, and then Albert Einstein, think about what like he was so Albert Einstein was so instrumental in in orchestrating and bringing to light the attention of society to what really the possibilities were based on the things we couldn't even see. Einstein, his theory and the quantum, where we're now focused on quantum versus Newtonian physics, like just changed the game for the world. And so he expanded and went out of the realm of what most like the most intelligent people out there were talking about and doing. And so he bends literally, no pun intended, but he actually bent reality, at least what everybody thought was reality. He bent it. And that's something that I really admire as well, because there's so many things that we've accomplished where everybody else is doing it one way and everybody else is following that way. And I know there's something there, it makes sense, but not necessarily that way. And because we were bold enough, we were bold enough to do it a different way, the results that we got were 10 times greater than what most people were getting. And so I know that works, and it works in so many different levels. And something that I talk to my advanced level students about, which is how being able to go from $0 to $1 million a year isn't something that, like, it's something that society tells you that it's almost impossible to do in a year or 2 years or 3 years. It's almost impossible. But it's really like they really just want you to believe that. It's almost impossible for most people, because most people is believing what society wants them to believe. But I did the statistics, I can't remember. So the statistics, out of 300 million people, there are I think there was like 3 million or something like that millionaires every year. Like, I could get the stats if I go into my notes. There's like 3 million new millionaires a year that are created. I could be wrong. It might be more. I think it's more like 27 million or something like that a year that are created. So if that many new millionaires are created a year, like that's a pretty high percentage. What makes those people different than you? Like, there's some things that they're doing different. If you just did what they were doing, you could do it too. But most people are so stuck on what understanding based on the reality that society's feeding us, that it, like, in order for you to be able to have enough money to retire, you got to work a lifetime. And that's totally false. I went from 0 to generating $1 million a year in 18 months, maybe 20, it was something like that. And then consistently. And then we go from 2 million to, we'll see, this year, it's going to be pretty significant, but it could be 10. Right now, the projections show about 20, somewhere between 10 and 20 million. Like, how do you do that? How do you go from 2 to 5, like let's say on average $15 million in 1 year? How do you do that? Well, first of all, believing that it can be done, having great strategic collaborations to collapse time, because that's what strategic collaborations do. They collapse time. How long would it have taken me to be able to do this without knowing this person that has access to these things, without having all these great students who do so many different things and have the same mindset and the same desire and the same will, and are willing to execute? Like, they're disciplined, they're serious, they're going to execute, they have a love for the Lord. They know it ain't about pleasing me or anyone else, about pleasing him. And so and all they need is an understanding of how to get it done and the resources to make it happen. So when that starts to happen, not only do I collapse time for them, but it collapses time for me. Right. And so, like, that's the power of strategic collaborations. So, and that's where Albert Einstein for me is like he's that's the reason he's been on my list. Henry Ford, right? Henry Ford created the whole mindset. I mean, the whole strategy where he disrupted the auto industry with the what is that, the assembly line. So the assembly line, like, Henry Ford came up with that whole idea of the assembly line. People hated him for that because the assembly line made things so much more efficient that he was able to put out cars, and he was able to hire so many more people. And he also came up with the idea of not making people work on the weekends. Like, he gave weekends off, where before that everyone else was working them 6-7 days a week. He gave weekends off, right? And he had a reason for doing that, from a production perspective and a mindset perspective and a sales perspective. If everybody's working all the time, when are they going to have time to buy his products? Even though they work for him, they still have a need for those products. But if they're working all the time, when are they going to have the time to buy the products that they're producing? Well, smart, right? He did it. He reinvented the whole industry, and the assembly line model was adopted by many other companies who have eventually gone on to make it so much more efficient. Look at Amazon today. Like, that's the assembly line model that ended up collapsing time, because they took technologies that are significantly different today, added it to the concept, and just, like, not 10x it, 100x it, 1000x it, the amount of production. And even with the car industry, Ford Motor Company, they do a lot of stuff today where Henry Ford would just be like, I could just only imagine what he'd be thinking if he saw it today. Ray Kroc, he did the same thing with McDonald's. McDonald's brothers were the ones who started and had the concept of McDonald's, the great hamburger, the fries, like, the stuff was really good. They had lines literally around the corners, just waiting to get in to eat that hamburger and their French fries. But they had no concept of systems. They had no concept of really having the ability to truly scale. Right? They did a little bit, but they had no concept of really what the true potential was. And Ray Kroc's mind was focused on understanding systems, and that's what he did. He just turned that great product that they had into us, and he put systems around it so it could be mass produced. Not just the product, but the feeling people got when they ate it, when they visited the location, whether it's in North Carolina or whether New York, when they visited that location, they got the same feeling. The feeling of excitement, the feeling of pleasure, the feeling of fulfillment by eating the product, but also experiencing the service, the level of service, the price, the ability to just hang out with their family, because it was a family event. That's what people did. They went out to eat with their kids on a Friday night, Thursday night, Monday night, whenever they did it. And it wasn't just about how good the food was, because it was amazing to people, but it was also about the experience. And Ray Kroc took that thing that McDonald's brothers did, and then he built systems all around it, and eventually just bought them out, right? And then mass produced it all over the world. And then Elon Musk, y'all know what Elon's doing. He's doing all kinds of stuff where, again, same thing. He's bending reality. And Walt Disney, he was the most recent add-on. Those guys have been on my list for quite a while. Walt Disney was recent, because if you've never been to Disney and you see what is, like, if you've ever crunched the numbers without even really knowing numbers, but how much do they charge to get in Disney? And then you look at the number of people that are coming to Disney every year, every day. Like, it's like, I remember the first time I went to Disney, when I did those numbers in my head, I said, I didn't even know people made that kind of money. Like, when you do it like per minute, per second, per hour, like, I didn't even know people made that kind of money. I didn't even know something like that was even possible. But then when you listen to, like, there's a book that I'm actually reading now. The book is on Amazon. You can get it. I'll let you know what it is if you guys want it. You guys want it? If you want it, let me know. Hey, Margaret, what's up, sis? So y'all want me to tell you what book this is? If y'all want it, I'll tell you what it is, and you can go get it. It's a great book. If you put it in the comments, because we're going to wrap up in a minute. And the book is actually called Walt Disney by Neil Gabler. Walt Disney by Neil Gabler. It's an amazing book. It's a long book, though. Like, it's a book that how many hours is this book? This book is 20 hours. 20 hours long. And so, and I'm more than halfway through it, but it's an amazing book. Amazing book when it talks about, like, how he started, how he grew, the challenges he had. Like, it really gives you but the things he focused on, how he thought. Like, you would think that, like, today you look at Walt Disney and say, oh, he must have just been, like, amazing from the start. Not even close. He was like David. Like, he was the least likely to succeed, right? He was his brother became his business manager because he thought his brother was trying to protect him. He thought people were going to take advantage of him because he was just so naive and gullible, it seemed. But then when you listen more about the story, like, you can see how he grew, but it's just challenges, and it reminds me of some of the things that we've gone through in our business on our rise, and like, those are the kinds of things that help you to see, like, when you talk about perseverance, when you talk about, like, again, serving the people, not really worried about the money, not being concerned about the money, but serving the people, understanding the importance of the money, because if you don't have the right systems in place to be able to generate the money, then no matter how hard you serve the people, you're going to be done, because you're going to be limited as to how much you can serve. So when you put those things in place properly on the front end, then when you start really serving the people, you don't have to really think about the money, right? Because if you're thinking about the money, people know that's when your main focus is the money, people that you're serving are going to know that, right? And you're going to know it too. So the key is design that stuff first, then you don't have to think about it, and then just go serve with everything you got. And when you serve with everything you got, then people will know that you care. People will know that you care about your success. Like my portfolio up until this recently, it hasn't grown much over the years. Why? Because my focus was never on, like, except in the beginning. But once I started coaching and helping people, I stopped focusing on my portfolio. I was starting to live vicariously through everybody else, because my main focus was my students' growth, not mine. And so, and they knew that. They understood it. They can sense it. When I spent time with my students, they knew I was never in a rush. They knew that I wasn't just telling them something just to get them on and off. I wasn't just blowing smoke and trying to make them feel good. Like I told them what they need to do. And I told them the stuff that would get them results as if I was talking to myself or one of my kids, right? Not talking to them like a kid, but talking to them as I would want someone to talk to me or talk to one of my kids if they were guiding them, right? If they knew what I knew and they cared about their success. And that comes out. It's like my wife. My wife was a therapist, right? And there were times that we would walk out and we would go to a supermarket or something, and she would run into someone and she would always try to avoid people that she knew. Cause in that business, you have to, like, you got HEPA rules and things like that. So you don't want people to, feel funny, and you don't want to be in violation of anything because they know you're a therapist and then you're talking to them, they must be one of your patients, that kind of stuff. So she always tried to avoid people when, that were her clients. But sometimes people would come up to her and they would talk to her, and they would, at one point when she was like doing hospice work and things like that, like families used to come up to her and literally almost have tears in their eyes about how much she's helped them, and they were so grateful of what she did for their family, or what she did for their mom or their dad, like, it happened so many times. And that came because she was definitely not doing that stuff for the money, because the kind of money she made, like, she used to hear from me all the time. I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, it wasn't like what I meant by that, like she made money, but she wasn't making six figures. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Well, because I'm not doing this for the money. I know you're not doing it for the money, obviously, but guess what? The hospital that you're working for is making a whole lot of money because of what you're doing. And you're the best. You're one of the best out there. Not just because you're my wife, but I know how much you love this stuff and how helpful you are. You give everything. And look at what some of these people say. Like, what's taking you so long to go out on your own? She never ever wanted to go out on her own. Never. Like, and so, but what was it about? It was about the heart, like her knowledge and her passion for helping others. Like, she gave everything. Like, when you have that, but you have now the right systems in place, so you don't have to think about the money, then the money is just going to be like your scorecard. Like, it's going to happen, but it's going to be your scorecard. So when you're making tens of millions of dollars, that's your scorecard to show how well you really serve the people. Does that make sense? Y'all with me? Y'all with me? If y'all with me, just because I went way over. So that's what millionaire mindset. So from a millionaire mindset perspective, I'm going to just wrap up by saying this. It's not one dimensional. You can't do it alone. None of us can. And if you truly desire to have a life that is well beyond what anyone in your life, like anyone who raised you or brought you up, could like ever told you was truly possible, anything that they've, like, well beyond what they've achieved, and in some cases even well beyond what you can even envision. In some cases, I'm going to tell you, one of the keys to the millionaire mindset, the keys to success, the keys one of the key concepts is strategic collaborations. Make sure you're developing strategic collaborations. They will collapse time for you. They will accelerate your ability to accomplish things, so that what most people it would take 10, 20, 30 years for you, it might only take 10, 20, 30 months. And that's no exaggeration. Take it from someone who's done it multiple times. So, and have done it and recognize that it's strategic collaborations that help me get there. We can't do it alone. So with that said, my Airbnb was this. If this was helpful, go ahead and type in the comments. Let me know. But if anyone has any questions, more than welcome to ask. But I'm going to wrap up my Airbnb Mastery Inner Circle members, you guys can jump over on the Zoom if you want. We're gonna start that at 7 p.m. I'm gonna take a few minute break. Y'all could come on in and just hang out until I get back, and then we're gonna get rolling. I got some stuff for y'all. We got a number of celebrations. There are people that have gotten a bunch of places, people that got a bunch of money. We're doing some introductions today. We're gonna be sharing like next level stuff that everybody's actually doing, and just refining that stuff. God bless you. Oh, I don't know. I don't. Why do you have Marie Ramsey? Is that like a alias or something? Because that's part of your. You don't have to tell me live in public. You can tell me, and if I didn't recognize your face, and I only recognize the name because of an email that I sent you recently. so, but anyway, you could tell me in Airbnb Mastery in the private session tonight, because I know you're gonna be in there. So, but anyway, I'm glad it was helpful, Marie. if that, I don't know if that's an alias, if that's just a middle name, because I don't know you under any of those names. Anyway, let me take a break. Again, hopefully this was helpful. If it was, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not. Every week we're here at 6 p.m. And if you're not also if you don't know, then on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. we also do a business Bible study as well, where I get really deep into some other things, sharing a lot of biblical some scriptures biblically, of that support the things that we do in our business and our lives, that the Lord is giving us insight and wisdom, and how it all applies, not just to our lives, but also to business, not just to business, but also to our lives. And so with that said, God bless you guys. Love you guys. Share it and subscribe, and go check out the other stuff on the channel, because if that was helpful, then the other stuff will be as well. So God bless you guys, and I'll talk to y'all soon. I'm in the stream, and we out. I'll see y'all in a few minutes.